In this episode of the Up in the Sky podcast, we sit down with XP72, a well-known face in the flight simulator community. We talk about his upbringing, how he got into flight simulation, how he started streaming, and kind of his plans for the future, as well as his most embarrassing moment. Now, without further ado, let's talk to XP72. So, XP72. I have to ask, and I asked Mickey Mike this right off the bat. How did you get XP72?
Man, the simplest explanation is always the best explanation. XP, actually, for those who've been around with me for the beginning, they'll know exactly the answer, but it's very simple. When I started with one sim and one sim only, and that was X-Plane. And I was not creative in coming up with a YouTube name, so it was like X-Plane. I'm like, that didn't work. YouTube needed something else to go along with that. I was like, all right, 1972. It was X-Plane 1972 is how I started.
Okay, so your original was X-Plane 1972.
Yes,
Nice.
absolutely.
And so you shortened it, I'm assuming.
Somewhere along the line, I'm trying to figure out if it was Microsoft came out or it just was too much. And it was like, you know what? I know what it is now. You had HD on. He was one of the original OGs and some other fellas. And they didn't call me X-Plane 1972. They just say XP. They just call me XP. And I'm like, that stuck. So I just stuck with it. It's just a XP72. That's it. And it looked good on the logo at the time. I was like, yeah, I'm going to stick with that. Yeah, so
Looked good on the logo.
That's it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I always like to hear the origin stories of the names because it always is something like that. I mean, like, people don't know, my channel started as Shadowless Night Gaming. Nothing to do with me, like, just completely, it is so freaking long. Yeah, so that's how, actually, I still have videos up where that's on there, so.
Yeah. When you don't,
not anymore.
when you don't know, you don't know. When you don't
Exactly.
know what you're getting yourself into, it's like, you know what, just throw something out there. That seems cool at the time, and then afterward, like, yeah, that doesn't work anymore. Let's go with something else. Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, we're here now, and we made it, I guess. I don't know. It worked out for us, I guess you could say.
It worked out, yeah. Like, I can't believe I'm answering to a name I made up on YouTube. When I go around people or I get a phone call or a text, it's like, yo, XP. And I'm like, I'm answering to this name that I literally made up on YouTube. It's crazy. Nothing to do with anything about my personal life. It's just XP. That's it. Yep. So it stuck and it worked. So yeah.
Yeah, of course. Mine's my name now. So I simplified it.
Good.
But yeah, there's nothing wrong with using a different name. Obviously, Mickey Mike, XP72, HD Sim. I mean,
right.
Owls. I mean, you name it, right? They're, Captain Canada. It's just, you can make it whatever you want.
Exactly.
And you can roll with
it.
So let's talk about 1972. Is that when you were born?
Yeah, that's it. That's why I got a bunch of
little gray,
white stuff.
Little gray going in there.
Just a little bit, man. Wow. Yeah, it's crazy, right? I can't believe it.
How did you get into flight sim then? When did you start?
I started, I'm still trying to remember this. Maybe 2019 is the first Flight Sim Expo I went to. So I probably started months before that, or I don't think maybe a year before that. I don't know. 2018, 2019. I can't keep track. It's kind of fuzzy at this point. But I remember the first Flight Sim Expo being a milestone, a turning point for me personally. So I'll say around 2019. Around there. It was June 2019, so maybe January 2019. But that's when I started, and how I got into it, basically, I never thought I would, I didn't even know what a flight simulator was, put it that way. I'm a Jamaican kid, man. I grew up in Jamaica. I went to technical high school, and I came to America, and I went to college for a whole different degree. Mm-hmm. Even different to what my career has been over the last how many decades, right? But one of my first jobs in America, actually my second or third job, I was a flight attendant. Yeah, a lot of people still don't know that.
You were a flight attendant?
Yeah, man. I was a flight attendant. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't know either. It was random how I got that job. No, seriously. So my first plane ride basically was coming from Jamaica, from Kingston to JFK. And now I'm thinking back and tracing it back, and now I know it was an A300 because Jamaica had a bunch of A300s, champagne service or whatever. And I
Right.
remember it was a big plane. Now I know it's a wide body. But at the time, I think I did have the window seat. And leaving Jamaica, which is like tropical paradise, and landing in September, where there's like, what's that white stuff on the ground? No idea. Coming through the airport, walking out the terminal in JFK, and like that cold just hit you. Like, oh, wait a minute, I don't know what this is. You know what I'm saying? I was like, what, 18, 19, something like that. First time on an airplane. Fast forward, I went to college, finished college, had a job in my field. That only lasted a few months. Had another job, and then I got laid off, and I was sitting at home just like, all right, I need to find work. I can't sit at home anymore.
Right.
And I saw an ad in a newspaper, and it goes, hey, do you want to see the world? Come to JFK Hangar 5 or whatever for an open house. Still didn't know it was a flight attendant job. It just says, hey, if you want to travel, come. Just show up. It was like a 8 o'clock in the morning and like a 1 in the afternoon. And I was like too lazy to get up to go to JFK at 8 in the morning. I was like, nah. 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I remember putting on maybe a pair of slacks, a T-shirt, and a jacket over it, like a mustard jacket. So that was my dressing up, right?
Right.
Go for an interview or whatever. I don't know. Man, I get to JFK, and there was just all these people dressed up. Like, back in those days, I'm telling you, flight attendants did dress back then. Not now. They dressed.
Right.
Everybody was in suits and skirts and stockings and high heels, and everybody was like, I was like, uh-oh, I'm in the wrong place. This is not going to go well. But I stuck it out, and they got us into an auditorium. And that auditorium was huge. It's like maybe 200-300 people. And this is what happened. They're like, all right, everybody in this room, we're going to give you a chance. You need to come up and talk for 5 minutes about yourself in front of everybody. That's it. And that's when people freaked out. People were crying. They're like, no, we can't do that. And that's when I realized like 5 minutes is a long time to talk about yourself. 5 minutes is a whole long time.
Yes, it is.
I rambled on about some stuff about Jamaica, whatever. And I was like, all right, this sucks. I'm leaving. So I'm walking out. Lady stopped me. She goes, hey, do me a favor. Here's a piece of paper. Can you go to the terminal over here in JFK? We need to talk to you some more. I was like, oh, really? I was like, yeah. Yep.
Success.
Fast forward, I started working for a charter company called Tower Air. Tower Air out of JFK, all 747-200s. Wow. They had a mishmash of the number 4 off the lineup Boeing for Pan Am and the old TWAs, and just like anywhere they could get like 747-200s from, they would get them. Like we're talking about old plane where even the interior had different seats, the galley was different. So every plane wasn't uniform. It was like you could tell where they came from, right? And with that airline, I trained. They actually had an accident at JFK while I was in training. They ran off the runway and shoved the nose gear up into the first class section, the downstairs area. Oh, yeah. They quickly covered it up with a tarp and stuff. We were in training when this happened. But this is when I got to respect the airline business, respect the flight attendant business, because 99% of the training was like safety and fighting fires and all this other stuff. And, and then started working Tower. I did it from like 2000, no. Because I worked for 2 airlines. So I worked for Tower up to 2000. So 1995, 94 to 2000 was a Tower. Best flying of my life. That's what got me hooked on airplanes.
So when you say charter, who do they charter out to?
Oh, yeah. Good question. So we're following around Air Force One.
It's a big plane.
Oh, yeah. So we're doing the White House press corps charter. And wherever Air Force One went, we flew along with them, brought the press. We did the Hajj. I was in Saudi Arabia I lived there for like 6 months. I went there a few times. We did Muslims from all over the world. We did the Vatican charter, Catholics. We did football. We went to, I remember going to Dublin, Ireland with the Pittsburgh Steelers because they were playing over there, some exhibition game.
Right.
Military, huge. Like, all right, get this, right? So my first flight as a flight attendant was they called me up. I was on standby, like, all right, we got a trip for you. I'm like, how long? You're going to be gone for 6 days. Pack a bag. I was like, okay, cool. JFK, ferry, empty. So we were going on ferry flight. So ferry flight versus deadhead. Ferry flight is like just the crew members only, JFK down to Texas. We were on the ground for like 6 hours there. The military do their thing, load up the airplane, and we're taking troops to Germany. So it was like Dallas or wherever we were. I don't remember.
Right.
To Germany. Laid over in Germany. Got to a restaurant there, and it was like a restaurant called a Bachelorette with all these crew members from different airlines coming. They're all sitting around the table. We're talking, hey, who you work for? Who you work? How long you work? How long you work? I was like, I've been there 15, 20 years. I got the seniority. They're like, how long you work for?
It's my first flight.
It's my first flight. Exactly. And they're like, yo, what? Why are you here? I'm like, charter, right? And then laid over in Germany, then deadhead on a Lufthansa or somebody to Paris. Laid over in Paris for a few days. Was supposed to go back to JFK, and they're like, no, we're going to extend your trip. I'm going somewhere else, whatever. That was a charter lifestyle. I tell anybody, if you want to become a flight attendant, start out with charter airlines. If you're young, you will see the world. And I did. That's when I got to meet up with, so we traveled with all the mechanics we needed, because we were everywhere in the world. We traveled with all the weight and balance guys. We basically traveled with ops. Even people with cash money to buy fuel and stuff. And I got to hang out with those guys. Go into avionics bay, did a bunch of jump seat takeoff and landings. I have a bunch of them on video. I just need like not a VHF player, like a VHF-C player. I have all that stuff on video too. But I did all of that, and that got me hooked. And I didn't know what a SIVA was. Now I'm thinking back, like I was watching these guys programming the waypoints in the SIVA. We had the flight engineer over here. And the captain's like, yeah, jump up, grab a headset, listen. You know, I'm watching these guys fly out of JFK and stuff. Yeah, I think that's what got me started. And then they went bankrupt, and I was like, all right, got to get a real job. So I applied for United. I got United Airlines, and they shipped me off to Chicago for training for 6 weeks. And then they're like, all right, graduation day, you're going to be training. You're going to be located in Denver. That's your base. It's like, holy crap, I'm from New York. But yeah, we're going to give you a week in a hotel, and you need to find a place to live. And we stop paying for it after a week. Good luck.
Wow.
So
you have 1 week.
Yeah, it's a true story. It's 1 week. It's like, hey, here you go. New city. Never been to Denver. Here's a hotel. You have a week to find a place. You can go to the crew area in Denver, and there's like people have charts on the board. Hey, roommate for rent or whatever. Because the flight attendant world is like you either live in a crash pad, right, or you live away from base in somebody's basement or something where you're renting a room with 4 other people. You're on standby all the time. And
very similar to
the same thing.
Yeah, I'll say very similar to your brand new first officers coming off the line. Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, you share a crash pad with pilots and flight attendants all the time, working for Endeavor or whatever. So that was a life. And then I did United up until September 11th, and that's all she wrote. But I always had the bug, And then I think you asked how I got into this flight sim thing. Yeah. So fast forward now, a few years later. I'm watching YouTube. YouTube is a thing now. Back then there was no YouTube, right? So I'm watching YouTube, and I see this guy, and he's like in a A10 Warthog. He's in an A10, and he's like, I'm like, how is the military allowing this guy to film and fly in the jet? Because he's got a wingman, and they're like braking and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, what the hell is this? I looked it up. I'm like, wait a minute, this is not real. It looked like he had a GoPro on his head. But I think he was using like Track IR or something, whatever.
Right.
Turns out it was DCS when I did my homework. It was DCS he was flying. I was like, yo, I got to get in on this. I like flying. I used to fly like Ace Combat 5 or something on, console, whatever.
Ace Combat 4 is my introduction to that.
There you go. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, mission type. But yeah, and I researched. It's a flight simulator. I was like, oh, a flight simulator. I could do this. But my problem was I had a Mac. I had Mac computers. I didn't have a PC. Never had a PC computer. I hate PCs. I'm an Apple guy, right? And I looked it up, and Microsoft Flight, FSX came up, or whatever. Yeah. Or I'm like, yeah, your computer can't run that, bro. So it's like, what flight simulator works with a Mac? And X-Plane came up.
X-Plane. Yep.
And I had a MacBook, not a MacBook Pro, a MacBook, a white one. Dude, I was running X-Plane at like 4 FPS.
I was say, how did that work?
If you know X-Plane, right, it slows down anything less than 19 FPS, the time slows down.
Correct.
So like I would be doing a flight delay from Fort Lauderdale up to Tampa. and it would take me like 3 hours. And I was having fun. But I was wondering, like, why does it take so long? Like, and then I started getting into it, start reading the forums, explain.org forum, and I realized, nah, dude, you need a real computer and stuff. And that's how I got into it, bit by bit. My first piece of hardware was a Logitech 3D Pro joystick. It's still available now for like $30 or something.
Yeah,
it's
still
the
out there.
starter pack. Yeah, it gives you a throttle, it gives you rudder control, the whole thing, man. And that's it. And I slowly got into the game of flying.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Did you start with X-Plane 10 or 11?
This much of X-Plane 9, because I had X-Plane 9 installed as well. But I think this was a transition between 9 and 10.
9 and 10.
I remember, it's funny because X-Plane 9 had a startup, like how Microsoft Flight Simulator has like a startup screen with planes flying or whatever. X-Plane 9 had that. And they dropped that when they went to 10. Because I remember starting up X-Plane 9 and it was just showing you this Cessna in a demo area and then it's warped you into the plane or something like that. But X-Plane 10 really is what got me started. 9, I was like, nah, I like 9. 10 is what I started with, and it's miles away now. But yeah.
Yeah, we're a little different now than it was X-Plane 9. Just a little bit. I cut my teeth on FSX. That was what my first introduction to flight sim was. And I told us on the other ones, but I started and I convinced my parents I could build a computer. And so I built like a $500 computer. Nowadays that'd be like $750,
Nice.
But hey, it ran X-Plane, or not X-Plane, sorry, FSX just enough to where I could, fly. And I remember randomly, this is kind of an interesting story, I was in their multiplayer sessions, right? Which were a little different than what we have today, but still there were some crazy things. Somehow I got into talking to this dude who's like middle-aged guy. Don't even remember the dude's name, but I was so confused about how to use the GPS. And I was like, I need someone to teach me how to use the GPS. He was like, hey man, I'll teach you how to use the GPS. And we got into a shared cockpit session together with a voice, and he took me step by step through how to use the GPS.
Oh man.
And that was like game changer for me, because now I could actually like fly across countries and like do like actual trips, and it was complete game changer for me. So whoever that guy is, if you're watching this for some unknown reason, thank you so much.
No, look, the community, the community is crazy. Like, we do help each other a lot, or we did back in the day. And I think we still do. We still do. But, it's like, like I got accused one time, why are you on the internet talking to strangers? Like, stuff like that. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, these are flight sim people. They're helping me.
These are my people.
It's my people's, right? But yeah, you're right. And back to what you're saying about building your first computer. This is a word to youngsters. Hey, man, I don't have a PC, whatever. Yeah, my first PC, because I had a Mac, I literally bought it off of OfferUp, which is basically Craigslist. Right. I bought it. Like, somebody selling an old PC for like, $50, $100. And then I got it. It was a little bit better, but it wasn't what I wanted. I remember buying my first graphics card was like $30 from Best Buy. I thought I was going to be smoking that. It was like a GTX 520 or I didn't remember, man.
Oh, man.
And I had a Core 2 dual processor, right? And I remember going on eBay and buying a newer processor that worked with that same motherboard. And that's how I learned to put computers together for flight sim. I got that one. It was done. Then I was like, I need something better because my frames are still bad. So I did another one like that, and I upgraded. Now I had 2 PCs. And then that's when I started streaming, because I was doing like dual PC streams, because one PC was just not strong enough to fly the sim and to stream at the same time. But yeah, I built and up. Yeah, the last only one PC I ever. No, I bought 2 PCs, but the last 2 I have now, I actually built them myself from help with from the community. You understand? Yep. Yeah. I remember like one of my biggest streams was on Twitch, believe it or not, and it was not me flying. It was like people coming in and helping me get my computer to work on a live stream. And people were like really good ideas, and we got it to work. Like, they helped me out and figured out the problem. We broke everything down: power supply, graphics card, we reset things, whatever. Got it to work, all because of the community. So yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
So you said you started streaming with 2 computers, which I remember that when that basically was a requirement for the what we had at the time. Now
Right.
not so much. Now you can run it on one.
Yeah.
But so when was that? You said you was 2018 somewhere, 2019
Yeah,
somewhere around
2018,
there.
2019. So the way the streaming came about, I did not want to stream. I never set out to stream at all. Streaming was not on my mind. I found this new passion that like nobody knew about. I could fly airplanes from point A to point B. I'm like, people need to see this. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking off. The runway looks good. I'm putting in the GPS. It's working. I'm getting to point A to point B. I have to show this to people. Like nobody knows that this exists. Well, of course, that's not true.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm gonna make videos. So I was watching Matt Davies and Chewy and a bunch of other older guys. Cat Strader was one. Every Friday I used to watch him. Then a bunch of guys on Twitch, John Fly and all these guys I'm watching. And I'm like, I could do this, but I want to make videos. And I did a couple attempts to make videos, and each one failed miserably because either my mic wasn't on, I realized like 30 minutes into the flight, or my hard drive space ran out. It wasn't enough, or just something was always wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this live stream thing, let me look into it. The plan was to live stream it on YouTube and go back after the fact, because you can go back to YouTube and cut parts out of your live stream.
Correct.
People didn't know that. You have a basic editor you could do that with.
Right.
And I was like, all right, I'm just going to go live stream, and all the dead air and all the embarrassing parts and the crash landings, I'll just edit those out and keep that video compressed. And that's how I started live streaming, is because I wanted to make videos. I wasn't good at it. I sucked at it. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go live and cut out the bad parts. Plus, I didn't have the storage to record a 2-hour video. I didn't have no hard drive space. Now I have 4 hard drives. But back then, my little 500 gigabyte wasn't going to cut it, right, with video. And so that's how I started streaming, with the intentions to go back and chop out the pieces. And then now I have a good video, right? And YouTube is going to store all this stuff for me for free. I was like, yeah, this is good. That's how the streaming thing came about. And I didn't even have a camera or at all. It was just blank and my voice. And lo and behold, I'm streaming, and it's like, yo, there's somebody in the chat. What? Bro, somebody's in the chat. No way. And sure enough, over time, whatever I was doing, we got like 2 people and 3 people and 5 people. And it's like, I remember when I reached 20 people, I was like, oh my God, there's 20 people. And then what people don't understand is like, when you just start, you're talking to yourself 95% of the time. There's nobody to talk to. And you got to keep talking just in case somebody comes in. You don't want him to hear dead air, Correct. You got to keep that production up and stuff. And yeah, but I think maybe I came in at a great time when X-Plane 10 dropped, so there was a buzz behind that. I never did FSX, I never did P3D, but those were huge at the time. And for some reason, man, it snowballed after a while. Like, I tell people like the hardest part of getting your stream starting is get to the first 10, 100, and 1,000 subs. It's the hardest grind you'll ever do. I was streaming like 2 and 3 times a day. No kidding. Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I remember I started streaming in 2017, but it wasn't Flight Sim. I didn't start with Flight Sim. I started with Ghost Recon Wildlands, Minecraft, and I think it was GTA 5, but like role play when I was like a police officer. Because I was. See, what I did is I was a police officer from 2017 to 2019. And
really?
so, yeah. And so I would do that in real life, and then I would come back and I would stream me doing it in the fake life, but like with my knowledge and understanding.
Yeah,
you're
the V1 of that. Yeah,
right. Yeah, there were other people doing it too, but I that kind of caught on pretty good. And I remember I had like 100 and something subs, 200. It was somewhere around that range when I made my first Flight Sim video, and it was because I was frustrated. So it's funny how it worked. So I was trying to learn, just like back in the FSX days. I was trying to learn how to fly the Boeing 737, specifically the Zibo mod.
Right.
And I was watching all these different people, their live streams and their videos. And I was like, I'm getting pieces and pieces here and there. And then eventually I figure out how to do it. And I come to this realization. I'm like, I need to make a video that shows all of this consolidated into a single, 30 minutes to show you how to
For a
do a cold
person
dark
like you.
startup. And
Exactly.
yeah, and
Yeah.
the program, the basic, not like super advanced, 100% realistic. Just this is what you need to know so you can fly from New York to Chicago or whatever.
Right.
And I made that and it blew up.
Oh, wow.
It probably had 10,000 views within a month, which was crazy to me because at the time, I would make my videos get maybe 50 to 100 views. Like it was nothing.
Right. So this one
and
just like,
boom, shot off like a rocket. And that's when
Right.
I broke 1,000. And so I started monetizing things, and I was like, "Holy crap! I can make money! Like what? Doing something I love." Anyway, so like that kind of, I've always had a passion for flight simulation. It just wasn't something I was streaming or video. I was like, no one wants to watch that, whatever. So that kind of was my tipping point for me whenever I was getting into this, and of course, that's always been kind of my niche, I guess you say. Of course, other people come along and made better and greater stuff than me, but when it comes to like tutorials and stuff, I've always loved teaching, and so that's been something I've continued doing. But yeah, it's just funny how things like that will propel you over that hump.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was for me. So what would you say was your hump that you said you're talking about grinding? What kind of kicked you over? Or was there anything?
Trying to see if I can put my finger on one specific thing. I mean, it helped that Zibo mod came about.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, I think if you go back on YouTube now, look at my first live stream, it was a Zibo. And it was no talking. I was none there at all. All I did was just take off at Kingston, Jamaica, and did a circuit and come back and land. So all you heard was like the raw Zibo sound. That was it. I think that was my first live stream. I didn't say a word to anybody. I didn't even own a microphone then, to be honest. I didn't own a camera or nothing. I mean, I had no webcam. That was it was like a test maybe. And I think it's still up. That was my first stream. So I think for streamers now,
let me go get it before you take it down.
Exactly. For streamers now coming in, I think it helps if, like when Microsoft 2020 dropped, a whole bunch of new streamers came in that didn't exist before.
Yes.
And some of them just blew up big time, right? So that helps if you come in at a time where there's something new. And as you did a tutorial, because people wanted what you were looking for, right? People wanted what you struggled with. Like, why can't I just find an easy, cold and dark, not airline certificate worthy? They just want to get the plane going. And you made that video and it blew up. Stuff like that. So it's a combination of Zibo, and I realized I was getting some traction. Like, 5, 10, 15, now 20 people. And so now I had to drive, like, I need to go. I need more people. I need more people watching. We all go through this. Every streamer goes through this. Trust me. And I was like, I would stream in the morning before work. I'd go to work, come home and stream again. I would stream twice a day on the weekends, Saturday morning and Saturday evening. I would double up, do a flight from here to here, here to here,
That's a
here
lot.
to here. I would do VAT sim chasing. I look at the map, we go say, okay, if LA has been on for a while, I'm not going to go to LA. Oh, Oakland just came on. Oakland, because he's going to be on for 2 hours, stuff like that. But that's what I was doing. I can't do that now. It would be burnout. But, and just slowly. And then when I went to Flight Sim Expo 2019, I met up with the people for the first time who, now at that point I had a camera, which is like a potato camera. If you see the graphics on that camera to this day, I'm still embarrassed, man. Bro, yeah, it was bad. But went to FS Expo.
But it was a camera.
It was a camera, and I was like, so all these people. This, by the way, this is the original headphones I started with. This is the same headphone I started with.
Well,
kept it.
It's funny you mentioned that.
I have 2 of them. I bought another one. Mm-hmm.
These are my original headphones.
Nice.
Now, granted, different mic, right? But headphone-wise, these are the original ones. I've changed out the ear cups. I've changed out the headband twice on both of them because they eventually fall apart after,
Yep.
Now,
I think I stripped off the leather material that was on here, Came off years ago, but yeah, that's the original. Now, I had one before this, I lie. I had one before this was a single piece, but this one I've had for like these 5 years now. But when I went to FS Expo, and this is why I encourage people to go to FS Expo, especially if you want to get in on the game, the energy there and the people that you're going to meet is going to propel you, because I met HD there. Well, I had met him before at Sun and Fun in Florida. He recognized me. I didn't know what he looked like, you know. And then I met...
No one knew what he looked like.
Exactly, right? I met Blue there. I was like, I'm looking at this dude, because by this time I'm watching other streamers, and I still watch other streamers. I remember seeing this cool guy, man. Blue Games, he's got his shades on, you know, and he's cool and stuff. I'm like, yo, that's Blue Games. I gotta go say hi, you know, like a total fanboy, right? You know what I'm saying? What's up, Blue? You don't know me, but I watch your streams, you know. Oh, you don't like the work you do and stuff like that. And coolest dude, man. It's like, yeah. And so meeting up with him and a bunch of other people, CJ Hollister and then a bunch of other guys, you now form a community that you can talk to and bounce ideas off behind the scenes. You can't do this by yourself. Should I say that? No, you shouldn't do this by yourself. When you have bad streams
whether
or bad
you
landings
can
or bad days,
or should are different.
yeah, you shouldn't. Talk to people. Talk to people behind the scenes, and it will help you, give you ideas, give you renewed strength to, because sometimes you do burn out. There's times you're like, I can't stream. Especially if you have a full-time job and you're coming home and doing it, or you go to school, you got to come home and do it, or you got tests, and, you know. But meeting up with those guys propel me, and I remember HD going, bro, you need to start taking this serious. That's exactly what he said. I was like, all right, I'm going to go home. I'm going to double up. And I did. But not one big, like, giant blow up. But, you know, I could say that I remember when I got recognized by somebody in the industry, like, yo, watch out for this guy. And just like how now I recognize other people and go, yo, watch out for this guy. This guy has got the thing, whatever that is. And only the YouTube audience can tell you what it is. You can't fake it. You can't create it. You understand?
Yep.
The YouTube algorithms, you don't know, but the audience will. And that's just how it is. It's the luck of the draw sometimes, I believe. You know, it's not some magic like, oh, I'm the best and I went to a speech school and, you know, I learned presentation. Nah, man, you should hear my first streams. I have no idea what I was saying. It's bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, 100%. And, you know, people talk about the YouTube algorithm, and man, there are definitely things you can do to better yourself in regards to that. But at some point, it's going to be up to the audience, and the audience is going to choose to watch you or not watch you. And that's mainly going to be based on whether it's personality or what you're doing or the genre or topic or whatever. The audience is going to choose to watch you, or they're not going to choose to watch you. And you can say luck of the draw, you can say whatever. It's just reality, right?
Yeah, it is.
And so I would say this is just kind of a side thing here, but if, you know, people are watching this and they're getting into streaming, or they're getting into recording, doing content creation, whatever, and they're like, I want to make this a full-time job. I'm going to make this, you know, I'm going to be, you know, 1 million subscribers in a year or whatever. You know, it could happen.
Yep.
Not saying it couldn't, but the likelihood is that it won't.
Yeah.
And so make your choice now that you're doing it not because you want to be the next Mr. Beast. You're doing it because you like doing it and you enjoy the interaction.
Absolutely, 100%. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, it's going to come across to the audience anyway. They're going to know that you're pushing or you're faking it or whatever. Just make sure you enjoy it for you, right? Because I do the same thing. You know, a lot of people ask me, like, why don't you do this kind of flight or that kind of flight? And I'm honest. I'm like, because I don't enjoy it. Would it make maybe great content for some people? Yeah, absolutely. But it's just not my lane. It's just not my lane. And I'm not going to stress myself out on something I don't enjoy for the audience. Now, of course, the audience have pushed me to do things that I wouldn't consider doing. And I was like, oh man, that was fun. That was awesome. You guys are good. Whoever suggested that, it was nice. But I know my limits, right? But make sure you're enjoying it while you're doing it. And don't quit your day job yet.
No.
Not just yet. Don't do it. Yeah.
I still got a day job.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I have a
like
day job. You know,
it's
you know if you do your homework right when it's time. And there's guys who have quit their day jobs and have done fantastic in this industry.
right.
You know, and if you watch their work ethic, they're grinding it out. I can call two names. The two current guys I know right now who are full time and grind it out every day, and I have respect for them for doing that, is Jeff Favignano and Captain Canada. You understand? They are on when they said they're on, and they're on for hours. You understand? They're doing 4 or 5 hours at a time. You understand? And so you can't look at those guys and go,
And
how
that's
come
just streaming.
That's just streaming. You don't see behind the scenes.
They do other stuff too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. Right. You know, so
It is a full-time job.
it is a full-time job. And you're not going to be able to, just put in 2 hours a day and I'm good. No. You know, and even with me.
You know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, we spend more than 2 hours.
Yo, you spend more hours setting up the damn computer and the sim and the sceneries and the hardware and everything to get it work, just to do a flight, and then you load up the flight and it doesn't work. Like yesterday.
Yeah, just like today with my iPad.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I got a flight at 350 yesterday and sim loaded up, it loaded in, but there's no plane. There's no plane. I was like, okay, what is this? You know, and this is one thing I don't like about Microsoft. I love it. Beautiful sim. I don't like force updates, and I don't like force updates. That's the thing. Like,
I agree.
You know, with
As an IT guy,
right? You have
like
the
force
version
updates.
you're using, and it's working for the most part. And now developers are going to update their sceneries and their planes that might break if you don't have the latest version of the sim. But that's fine. But I don't like me coming home. Last night I sat and I set up 350s working. We're good. I come home from work. I got 30 minutes to set up and go. Here's a software update. Good luck for the next 15, 20 minutes while we download this update. It's like, no, what is going to break now? This is going to delay me. And it's like, man. And people are like, you didn't test this before? Yeah, I did. But then there's an update.
I spent hours.
yeah, I know. It's true.
No, 100%. That happens all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
And you mentioned how, developers might change something and might cause their product to, be an issue with whatever version you're on in X-Plane, specifically. But what's happening that Microsoft does, and again, I fly Microsoft primarily.
Right.
I do fly X-Plane some, but primarily I'm still flying Microsoft just because I like the way it looks. And it does a little bit better in performance. Still have X-Plane 12, still play it, still fly,
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to being forced to update, I 100% agree. It is frustrating when the base game changes, causing all of your add-ons to no longer work.
Yeah.
And it was forced. You didn't get a choice in the change.
Yeah.
Unlike X-Plane, where you can choose to stay with the version you're at, and then now all of a sudden Zebo doesn't work for you. Okay, go download the latest version, whatever, if you want to use that, or go fly a different plane. Its choice is yours.
Yep, you set aside a time to say, okay, I got to do the update. I mean, it's not only Microsoft. Like my OBS that I used to stream, I've been on the same version for quite a bit now, and it keeps telling me every time I open it up, it's like, there's a new version available. Do you want it? I'm like, not yet. This one's working perfectly. Let me not
10 years later
yet. Because you could do it, and all of a sudden your stream is stuttery, and you don't know why. Because they changed something that you have to go back into the settings and see what numbers you have for bitrate and all this stuff and readjust, right? Same thing with vPilot and XPilot. We have a latest version. Do you want it?
No.
Not right now. I'm about to go live in 5 minutes. This is not the time. It's not the time to update anything when you're about to go live.
Exactly.
Don't do it.
100%. Having done production in, actual production in TV, national broadcast, you never update even the day of. You have a big event coming up that night or whatever, you do not update. You know it's coming. Nothing gets updated. Nothing in the servers get updated. Nothing on the workstations get updated. Nothing on the switcher gets updated. Nothing gets updated. Leave it alone. It works.
It worked. Yep, it's true. And then those are kind of the frustration things behind the scenes when people think about content creation that they don't understand. Same thing with making videos. Same thing with filming. Same thing with all of it that you put out on YouTube, whatever game you're flying. It's like, there's so much behind the scenes stuff that goes on that it's not as smooth as people think it is. As a matter of fact, it's a lot of work.
Every hour you would say of content that you create, whether it's a live stream, video, whatever. I know you primarily do live streams. So every hour that you put out, how many hours would you say is behind the scenes?
Oh man, jeez, wow, it's a lot, and it's a lot. Okay, so there's periods, right? So I've gotten Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 and X-Plane to a state now that I've put in all the hours
on the front
6
end.
months ago or a while ago. So now I can more than likely go in and fire it up, and it's going to be right where I left off, which is how I want it, right? But initially, when a new sim comes out or a new update comes out, you're going to spend hours, right? I'm going to talk about 5 hours one day.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? You're going to spend hours. The sim update 1 comes out, or 2. Readjusting, retweaking, whatever. Explain update from 11 to 12. Nothing works. You got to go back and redo. You lose all your settings and all that stuff. You understand? And then hopefully now you've gotten to the point where you understand how this new update works. You've set up everything again for each airplane, by the way. Not just like I set it for one plane, all Boeings and all Airbus, and that's it. No, don't do it. It's each and every airplane needs its own wing views, its own cockpit views, its own external views, its own throttle settings, its own joystick settings, its own curves, its own sensitivity. You name it. And now you're adding in the wing autopilot panel stuff now, and the FMCs and the light panel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All of that got to work. Or the worst part now is Microsoft, in general, for Windows 10, which is what I use, forces you to do an update and restart. So you go to shut down for the night, goes, there's an update due, you need to do this. It's like, all right, no problem. Click update, go to my bed. Wake up the next day, my audio doesn't work anymore. Because it took all the microphone settings out of OBS and put it to default. Yeah. My headphones don't work anymore, right? And you go that. Or Pimax update the VR headset again. It's like, it's a constant staying ahead of the game every single time, because when you go live, nobody give a crap about your troubles. They want to see you fly, bro. So, it's like that. It's like that. And then if you add video making into the mix now, that's a whole different time to do that. So now you're filming video with whatever camera you have. You're transferring that files to your PC or whatever your editing is. And you're going to find time to do that, to edit out the bad parts, to rewatch it 10 times, to get the right music, to get the right fonts and so forth. So it's work. But, all in all, I have to say, sounds like I'm complaining, but I do enjoy the end product. No, I do.
You enjoy the process too.
Yeah,
there's a little
process
bit of
too. Right.
Weird, sick pleasure.
Yep. I went out today for some reason. I fall back to the old wing side stick review video that I made. Almost a year now, and I talk for 25 minutes nonstop in that video, and I didn't say a lot of ums and ums and stuff, which is usually a problem. You go back and cut out, in post editing. It's but it's like you enjoy it. It's like, oh wow, that was not a bad video, or that was that wasn't good at all. That wasn't your best work. It's not. Or worse, and this happens. I don't know if anybody else. I would have a great stream, and it all gets destroyed at the end with the landing, and your mood changes, man. Oh yeah.
So it's funny you mentioned that. The first stream I watched of yours, I think you were flying into Denver, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
All right, it wasn't Denver. It was a rather large airport, VATSIM event, lots of people.
Oh my God.
And I think you were flying maybe the 757. I can't remember the exacts, but you were coming in. Everything looked great on the approach. You come in, touchdown, everything's great. And then all of a sudden you veer off the runway and it just, and I'm like, oh man. And everyone in the chat is like, oh, it happened again. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. And that's the fun but sick part of flight sim. There's people who just want to see me crash. They want to see my reaction when I screw up, and I have a bunch of times. It's funny. One of my audience members, Zato, I'm going to mention his name is Zato Flies. I think he also helped drive the channel because he started making meme videos of me. Like some of my highest rated videos are not by me. It's by somebody else. Goes explain XP does it again or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You know, people think that I landed on a taxiway, which I didn't. I never did. I almost did. But it's funny, right? So
You
here I
didn't
am
Harrison
coming
Ford
into
it?
right, exactly, right. Harris Ford into John Wayne.
A
So
lot
here
of
I
people
am
have done
coming
it. But yeah.
into LA, and you know, I don't know if I got a sidestep or whatever, and he's like, clear the land on 2-5 left, and I'm coming in, and people are like, bro, that's the taxiway, but I'm not paying attention to chat because I'm on short final, right?
Right.
And I'm looking at it going, why is there grass on the threshold? Like, this doesn't look right. Like, my brain hasn't clicked, right? You know, my brain hasn't clicked. And I
Yeah.
think ATC was like, are you lined up properly? I'm like, yeah, I'm lined up properly. I'm going to be good. You know, I got this. I was like, holy crap, it's the taxiway, right? I got to go around. Fast forward, not a year later, Air Canada did the same thing in real life in San Francisco. All the things that I've done on stream has been done in real world by real paid pilots. I'm a PC
Of
jockey,
course.
man. I'm saying,
Of course.
so don't laugh. You can laugh at me. I have no problem with it, but it's not too much because, you know,
Not too much.
Southwest just landed at the wrong airport the other day, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they did. There you go.
And then
No, they almost took off on a taxiway in Orlando.
But so yeah, they almost took off on a taxiway. They were starting their takeoff roll, and ATC called over and said, "Abort, abort, abort! You're on a taxiway."
I know.
You know, their faces just drained to blood, just like
Yeah. But I think you've made it when they start making memes of you. When you start getting memed, don't feel bad about it. Yeah, you're like, oh my god, I screwed up this one. You know, damn it, the stream sucked because my landing was negative 900 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You smashed the landing gear, or you're landing with your gear up in DC or something like that. You know, because the chat's like yelling at you. No, you know what I'm saying? You know, and then, but then they start memeing you. Don't take it personal. It is what it is. They're making fun of you. That means you have arrived. Some people notice you now and stuff, you know, stuff like that. But yeah. But I don't like bad landings, believe it or not. I don't care what anybody says. I enjoy the end of a stream when my landing is nice, is a decent landing. And you'll notice how I replay that like 15 times because like,
see, I can land nice.
Yeah. I can land nice. Yeah, I know, man. And then also you got to have a thick skin because the chat or the comments in your videos after the fact can be really merciless. They're like, bro, how many years have you been doing this? And you still don't know how to fly? You know, what are you doing? You should give this up. Like, what's your problem? Like, you know what I mean? How do you not know how to whatever? I'm like, dude, I fly fake planes and I fly a different one every night.
I'm about to say, it's not like you're an airline pilot where you're flying the same plane. You're type rated on 737 800 and you're flying that one day after day after day. You're flying a Boeing one day, an Airbus the next, Embraer the following, a MD-11 the next. Like it's ever changing.
I actually do find it fantastic, or the fact that you can memorize how to do cold and dark on an MD-80, 737, a A320, a A350, a 777, a 75, a 76, a Embraer, a E195. You can do it, right, in a computer setting, right? Not in real life, but you can do it in a computer setting. I found it fascinating that you can actually do that. I mean, when you think about it, as you say, everybody's type rated on one aircraft, and that's it.
Right. Or one or two,
change.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Same family, right.
Yeah, it's really fascinating that what we can do in the sim community. You know, I don't know if that translates to real life or not, but it's just fascinating that we can actually remember that stuff. Yeah, I know. Yeah, man. It's
who knows? Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows, right? Never one day.
So
do we have a pilot on board? No.
What's the dream of every pilot out there? Do we have a pilot on board? Hey, I've got 5,000 hours in Microsoft.
Yep. I've been on VATSIM before.
I can talk to ATC. Give me a chance.
Yep.
Oh, man.
I know, man.
Yeah, I think everyone's dreamed of that moment. Anyway, it's a joke in the real aviation
There was
community.
a real world. There was one like that. I want to say it was either American or Southwest where the first officer had issues and they did ask for a pilot on board. And there was a ex-military pilot. He wasn't current. but he did man the radios and did all the radio
Yeah.
calls. And the captain was able to land and stuff, with the additional help. So, yeah. But anyway.
Oh yeah, I
Go
mean
ahead.
stuff like that happens for sure. I know. I mean, there's been instances in general aviation, especially where you'll have a passenger land an aircraft.
I've seen those. The wife,
The wife that landed the King Air in California.
Yeah.
Now granted, she had been flying with her husband for a long time, so she kind of knew like generally what was supposed to happen, but still not a pilot, no instruction. Like, yeah. So it's fascinating what you can do just even through osmosis of sitting there.
True.
What you
I told
learn.
my wife, I said, when we buy the private jet, she's going to have to learn some stuff. And I found out that Cessna has a companion course for just that type of situation. They have a companion for it.
Yeah. I think Cirrus does it too.
Cirrus, yeah, Spouse and Partners, which is actually, I think it's, if you're going to have somebody sit up front with you, might as well let them know a thing or two. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
But,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and so I'm a private pilot, and so even in that world,
Nice.
there was a push in the smaller jet aviation if you're going to have somebody flying with you often, for them to know some basics, and so that was something I did with my wife. She didn't particularly enjoy it, but that's fine. Whereas like, hey, like I'm gonna at least have you like control the aircraft, and see how it maneuvers, and like this is how you use the radio. This is how you put in 7700 on the squawk. Let them know there's a problem, stuff like that, and just basic things. Help with some of the pre-flight stuff. Just getting her more familiar. But
if you see me doing something that you never seen me do before or whatever, just call it out. Like, hey, why is that light red or something?
Yeah,
something
and
like that. Yeah,
funny,
makes sense.
It's on my channel, and people can go watch it. But my first flight after I got my private pilot certificate was with my wife, and it was the first flight I had an emergency.
No, what happened?
Yes. My alternator failed.
Where were you flying?
I lost electrical power.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I still had battery, thankfully.
What were you flying?
It was a Piper Arrow.
Oh man, wow!
An Arrow. Archer,
did you
sorry,
freak out in
Piper
front of your
Archer.
wife, or did you hold it together like you're a man?
No, because I knew we were about 15 minutes away from the airport, and I knew my battery was supposed to last 30 minutes, which means I cut that in half, 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
Should be okay. But what was kind of the worst part about it was when I was trying to communicate. Was I was on with I fly in around the East Alabama area, so I was trying to communicate with Atlanta Approach. So I was on flight following with them. They were tracking me, and I was trying to communicate with them. They were calling me, but I couldn't get to them because my alternator wasn't providing power, so I didn't have enough wattage to reach their receiver.
Broadcast, right.
But my alternator was randomly working. It would work for like 5 seconds, and then it would go away for a couple minutes. And so I waited and watched my ammeter, and the moment it popped up, I was like, Atlanta Approach, this is, whatever. I have an alternator failure. I'm not declaring an emergency, but I may not be able to communicate with you. I'm heading straight to, my destination airport.
Nice.
And they replied back, do you need assistance? I said, no, I'm good right now. And then no joke, right after I said that, boom, back to zero.
Oh, man. No, seriously.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So she did get in the aircraft after that, though, so
yeah,
kudos to her for that.
She trusted you. Baptism by fire. It's like, yeah, you made it.
Yeah.
You made it through that one. Like, yeah. I mean, I'm guessing you learned a lot of lessons from that.
The second emergency I've ever had. I know.
More than one?
She was on board. Again, it's on my channel. I had a prop strike in the air. My landing light on the front of my aircraft departed my aircraft while I was coming in right before landing, and it struck my prop.
No way. Popped out.
Yeah.
Hit the prop.
Wow. Yeah, I heard like a metal sound, and all of a sudden, piece went phew, right by me as I'm coming in. I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I just pulled power to idle and did what they call power off 180. So you power to idle and you just 180 it down onto the runway.
Right.
Wasn't the best landing I've ever done, but it worked.
Just get it down, right?
Yep. And then when my mains touched, right, that's exactly what my thought was. I don't know the state of my prop. And the moment my mains hit, the actual assembly that held my landing light, which I still have. I kept it because it's all bent and twisted. But it's it's an example of I need to put it like on a shelf or something.
Right.
But it popped out and caught the prop again and went flying. And that's the only reason I knew what it was. I didn't know what had happened. I just knew that something departed the front of my aircraft, which is not a good thing. And so, but when I landed,
a good thing, right?
Right. And then when I saw that, I remember, I still see it in my mind, clear as day, looking as it's flying by, seeing the hole where my landing light should have been in the assembly. And I knew it was an oval shape. I was like, oh, as it goes flying by me.
That's a perfect conversation piece. You need to have that up, man, in the living room or something up there. Like, what is that?
I know, I do.
Let me tell about the time that I hit my own landing lights.
Yeah.
Nah, that's
Have you ever heard about a prop strike in the air?
Yeah. Not a bird, just an object from my plane. Yep. Look, that is awesome, man. I mean, I can't imagine the mental fortitude and knowledge you have gained from going through two of those, having to remain calm.
A lot.
And bring it in. Yeah, definitely. Yep. That's pretty cool.
And now every time I pre-flight an aircraft, and if it's a Cherokee, I check that landing light assembly.
Nice.
Every time.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense, man. Hey, there's some people who go their whole entire careers never had an emergency, and you've had two already.
That's true.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, hopefully that's the only two I ever have.
You still current and still fly?
Oh yeah. Good. I sold my Cherokee last month. I owned it.
Oh wow.
I sold it last month. It was last month still, because we're in April right now. This will actually come out in May, but yeah, we're in April right now. And sold that, paid off my house. Nice. So I'm 100% debt free.
Nice.
And I fly with Civil Air Patrol. So I still fly through them. Yeah. So I still get some time through them.
You still get time.
And I fly occasionally with other friends and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm still current, current in all my different ratings. And
so no need to maintain.
And I'm working on some others.
Right. No need to maintain your own airplane with the expense and stuff that comes with.
Yeah. It was really nice. Loved having it. Very sad when I sold her, but it was for the right reason and all that. And I have a whole video on that too. I mean, I put my whole life out there.
I have to. Now I have to go onto your channel and check out all this back stuff you're telling me about. I have to.
Yeah.
I mean, how often would you fly your own personal plane? How often would you fly?
It depended on the time of year. Okay. So, sometimes the year is not as good weather, and then other times it's better. So, in the good times of year, I'd fly it maybe once or twice a week. In the bad times, usually like once or twice a month. So financially, it didn't make a whole lot of sense, because you really have to fly it to make it make sense to own an aircraft. Mm-hmm. You have to fly it enough to where the hourly cost is less than if you were to rent an aircraft.
Right.
And so depending on the aircraft and how much it, that varies, of course. But I think for me, I had to fly it at least 100 hours a year in order to make it
for it to make sense.
And I wasn't meeting that goal after 2 years. So I said, it's not financially, it doesn't make sense. So,
and you can always get another airplane down the road now that you've experienced ownership with it. And I mean, if GA prices of airplane come down ever, which I don't doubt it,
they may plateau. I don't think they're ever going to come down.
yeah, they'll plateau. But no, it's good, man. That is good to know.
So, so with you and your channel, what is next for XP72?
Jeez, I mean, the easy answer is just keep doing what I'm doing right now. I'm at the tail end of my career, whatever field I'm in. I'd say I'm a technician. I'd say that much. And if after retirement, I'd love to just do this full time. That would be ideal, right? But that's years down the road. But right now with the channel, is just keep streaming. I mean, I have a little niche where people like to fly with me, and 95% of the time we have VATSIM coverage. Like, I love VATSIM. I would never fly without VATSIM. Like, I hate flying.
Controller. Thank you.
Right. There you exactly. You know what I'm talking about, right? I love shout out to all you guys, man. The volunteer times that you guys put in and have to deal with people who can't fly. Even people who fly with me sometimes, like, guys, you need to get it together. Like, this can't work. Like, you're making me... I'm getting calls going, dude, you need to do something about the people who fly with you. They suck, stuff like that. Like, please stop, I got banned from I didn't really get banned, but LA was like, please don't come to LA anymore. Just don't bother, you know what I'm saying? or don't fly in our FNOs anymore, because there's too much
Yeah.
people or whatever. But I love that. I still love flying with people. Like that's the community to me. Like I'm flying with people. You know, um, I'm getting to love video making now, like product reviews and stuff. I enjoy that, and I might even introduce more along the aviation line later on. As a content creator, I guess that's what I am now. You always have to keep doing or
Right.
changing stuff up or adding new things and trying new things and so forth. But
Iteration.
nothing big. It's just working with the different manufacturers and scenery developers and hardware developers and stuff. I enjoy that too. Like there's a lot of talk behind the scenes of these different people, what they want, what they have. I've had people reach out to me and go, "Hey, I need your help. We have this product. This is what it does. This is what it looks like. This is what we're going to call it." I'm like, "No, please, for the love of God, do not call your product that. That is not what it is. It's not going to do that. Do it this way." And luckily, they're like, "You know what? Thank you. We're going to change it." It's like, "All right, cool." I like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But no major big plans. Just continue to enjoy flight sim. Like we have 3 sims. Well, no, let me not say that. We have more than 3 sims, but we have Microsoft 2020, we have X-Plane 12, and we have 2024. Still P3D is still around, and some people still fly FSX because of their add-ons and stuff. But we have a lot of choices in sims. We have people in the cabins now, right? You know what I'm saying? We have we have AI
Cabins, period.
Cabins. You know what I'm saying? We have all of this stuff, and we have all these planes. There's always, what's the good thing about it that keeps me going as well? We all either have new scenery and new airplanes to look forward to. Like PMDG is about to drop this weekend, right? 777.
Yeah.
And then Bluebird is about to drop their 75, 767 combo. We still don't have a good 787. So there's all these airplanes to look forward to flying. The hardware game is stepping up. I have this where is it? It's upstairs. This Gear Lever I'm working on to do a video on.
Oh yeah, I saw that in the stream. It's freaking huge.
It is full size, man. I was like, whoa, this thing is bigger than I thought it was, right? There's that, and and people are gonna keep coming up with more stuff to get us close to that full cockpit thing. And then we haven't even talked about VR. Because for me personally, they used to ask me, "Do you fly on your off time?" And the answer was always no. When I sit down in front of the computer, is to stream for you guys. Well, that has changed. Now I've been doing my own VR flights, and I fully enjoy it, top to bottom. I have done it, and I maybe will do it again when I'm streaming. It's 50-50 with my audience. Some people absolutely love it. Some people are like, "Please, you know what? I'll come back when you take that thing off. It makes me sick or something."
Right.
Because
all emotion,
it's moving. It's motion. It's moving your head, and it's might be jittery and stuff. But I love VR I personally think that VR is the future of flight sim. I think it's the future. We just don't know it yet because of a couple of reasons, right? One, the barrier for entry is still high. It's expensive and getting more expensive, right? VR needs to come down to a sub $500 range, and good. Because here's the thing. People are like, "Oh, I've done VR already and I got sick." No. You didn't have the right VR goggles. You need something that's crystal clear, like the Pimax that I have. You need your computer that can run it with 0 stutters. You have those 2 things, you sit in the cockpit of any airplane, blow you away. It's like, yeah. And the immersion goes up to 100. Like, it really is good. But VR headsets are expensive now. $1,000, $1,500. Like, big screen beyond is like $2,000. Like, I don't know, take a mortgage, So, but I think that's where the market's going to go eventually when the price of the stuff comes down. If Wing can come in and make an FMC for $130 or PU Korea for $200, like it's going to drop at some point. For the longest while, I've been trying to get a 737 autopilot panel, and they were minimum $1,000 plus a waiting period. And Wing was like, "Yeah, we'll do it for $130. There you go." It can happen. It can happen.
Yeah, and the reason, there's a lot of reasons why that's happening now, but of course, Microsoft coming into the game again,
100%.
The market becoming much greater.
Yes.
Therefore, there's much more, intrigue and interest to actually make
Yep.
things for the community because now they can actually make money off
Yeah,
of it.
from a business standpoint, you have a lot more people. Microsoft, and that credit goes to Microsoft for just expanded this community 1,000%. They really have. There are so many new people in Flight Sim because of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and now 2024. And that's not even talking about the Xbox people, right? I'm just talking about even the PC people, which is our niche. A lot of people have come in. Again, they're buying PCs, they're buying hardware, and for the developers, it's worth their while to make the products, for us to get, and then they can sell it cheaper. So you're absolutely right. Shout out to Microsoft 100%. For that. Definitely.
Yeah, no, for sure. 100% on that. So last question I have for you, and I asked everybody the same question. This is the second question I said I was going to ask you. What is the craziest or most embarrassing moment you have ever had while streaming?
Which one? Oh, my word. Oh, man. Okay, so there is... I have a lot. That's the problem. It's hard to choose from, right? I coming into Hawaii, my engines went into reverse and I crashed a mile short of the threshold on stream with everybody
in the air?
Watching. Oh yeah, it's still up. It's still up. I think my wife hit the throttle when she stood standing beside me and put the engines in reverse, and I crashed.
Not the wife.
Then I exactly. Then I taxied through the bushes, through the palm trees, back to the gate. True story, right? Gear up, landing in DC. Take off on a taxiway in Spain with the Captain Sim 777, because that was the only one I know, right? Yeah, we flew the Captain Sim for a while before PMDJ ever came out with their 777. That's probably the most embarrassing, flying the Captain Sim. I took that plane on a long haul. There was a mod for that plane. There was like a heavy division mod or a mod for our Captain Sim planes. Flew that. But it's just hitting disaster. Like, Ustream just did not go the way it goes. I remember going around like 5 times in San Diego. And then I went around twice in Costa Rica here, or 3 times or something. It happens, man. But look, when you're flying that long and that often, something is about to give, right? I'm not a master of any of these airplanes at all because I switch them up all the time. That's one thing I don't do. I rarely fly any plane back to back. I fly it one time, and then I won't hit that plane again to another 2 weeks. I switch them up all the time. So I really don't get time to practice these planes in the sim and know them, except recently surprised the heck out of me, the CRJ. I flew for 2 weeks. The CRJ that doesn't have an autopilot, I flew.
Yeah.
Yep, I flew the CRJ. The plane that I flipped, the last time I flew it before this, I flipped it in Palm Beach on takeoff. True story. So yeah, they're all embarrassing, man.
Is there a single aircraft you haven't crashed?
737 I have. Oh yeah, the PMDG rolled on me. The PMDG 737 rolled on me in Australia. Like, it literally did a barrel roll. I don't know how I saved it. I haven't crashed a 777 yet. That's a good question.
So there's options. So you still have some room for improvement.
True. That is true. I've had. I'm thinking now, like, yeah, 7.5 blew up on me on replay. Remember that? It literally caught a ball of fire. I taxied off the runway in the 7.5 or was the 7.6, and it was at night. Didn't realize the scenery was bad, and there's like a drop off. Plane just blew up, and this big smoke. Like, and X-planes got the most fantastic fire coming out of those planes, and it blows up. It's like, yeah, man. Look, you can't take yourself too seriously on this stuff. You can't take it, else you'll be angry with yourself all the time. And if you do it often enough and long enough, something's about to happen. It just does, And my excuse is I'm not a real world pilot. I just play a computer game. That's it.
I say I'm not a real airline pilot. That's my excuse.
Yeah, exactly. People are like, "Why are you doing wing views on takeoff? Why don't you stay in the cockpit and fly the airplane?" It's like, oh man, come on. I have to look at the scenery, the cinematic, you know what I'm saying? Got to look at the terminals go bye-bye and you know,
Mm-hmm.
and the flyby mode and all that stuff. And you get back to the airplane and you're like way off course. You're like, crap.
Yeah.
I try not to do it on VATSIM though. That's the thing, you know. But yeah, there's multiple embarrassing moments. That's the answer. There's multiple ones. And then you
any last thing you wanna talk about or say before we wrap this up?
No, thanks for doing this podcast, man. I know there's been podcasts that come and go in the industry. I like your podcast. I really do. I like your laid back, relaxed style on it. Let people talk, not interrupt anybody, and because the people you're interviewing love to talk. By the way, if you realize they love to hear themselves talk.
Mickey, Mike, and now you. Yeah.
We just love, we give us one question is like a 15-minute answer and never get to it. We just keep monologuing.
That's why I said I have 2 questions. I'm gonna ask everyone the same 2 questions.
True.
Let it go.
And number 2, you know, all the young streamers who want to come up, just make sure you enjoy what you're doing. At the end of the day, you gotta enjoy it. You know, that's my message to you, and have fun with it. And for the general audience, don't ask about what FPS I'm getting. I don't care. As long as my sim is smooth, I don't care if it's 30 or if it's 130. It doesn't matter to me. I never check, and you shouldn't too. Don't do what I did in the beginning and checking FPS every 5 seconds. Oh my God, I lost 5 FPS. These sims are going to go up and down with loading enough things and people and streams and AI aircraft and VATSIM traffic and all that stuff. Get your sim to a state. Don't max it out. Get it like medium quality where it's smooth. And enjoy your sim. That's it. That's my advice. But yeah, but thank you, man.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you for coming on, and thank you all for watching, of course. And where can they find you if they haven't met you for some unknown reason?
I remember the first question you ask. My name, XP72. That's it. Just Google XP72, and you'll see my Instagram or my Twitter or YouTube. That's it. It's an XP72. Okay. Yeah. Very unique name. All right.
Well, everyone, definitely go check out XP72. You can go and subscribe to him on YouTube. And like you mentioned, is also Instagram and Twitter. So definitely go and check him out, subscribe. And thank you again for joining me, XP72. And thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video as well. And I'll see you all next time up in the sky.